Hello and welcome back to the Media Box. I'm Charles Amponter and you join us at a rather busy plenary session for the Congress of Local and Regional Authorities here at the Council of Europe in Strasbourg. Well, right now we're talking about Rotterdam in the Netherlands in the context of intercultural cities. And joining me is Korrie LOUWES. She is the Vice Mayor of Rotterdam. Good morning, welcome along.
Good morning, thank you.
Now, as Vice Mayor of Rotterdam, you've just taken part in this roundtable session of discussions in the context of the plenary session, the 22nd plenary session here. What has come out of these discussions?
Well, I think a common sense that we are all looking for common approaches to approach really the citizens as being part of a city, and not so much looking for all things that are dividing us, but things looking for common ground.
So what common ground have you found?
Well, the intercultural perspective is quite promising, actually. We're coming from a period that we focused on multiculturalism, lots of cultures just living next to each other, and now we're trying just to make sure that it's done in a more peaceful way and focusing on the intercultural level. I think it's a good way of really dealing with a lot of issues we have at stake. If you just look at the city of Rotterdam, more than half of the people living in Rotterdam are bicultural. They feel as much Turkish as they feel as much Dutch. So it makes no sense in focusing on what's different about it.
Every country has its intercultural issues. What are the intercultural issues that you find in Rotterdam particularly?
Well, most important is that you see that the second generation is doing quite well. We see a lot of youngsters actually at the university level already, which is quite promising, and also the level of people who started their own businesses. They're quite successful in dealing with new economic activities, also linked to other countries. So that's quite good because it proves a lively city. But on the downside, we also see specific groups who are lacking behind and not doing that well.
Who are they? Who are these groups?
Well, specifically two groups actually. One of the groups is the one lower educated with a lack of skills, lack of the Dutch language actually, that are lacking behind. But also quite another group is we have some youngsters who do have problems really in finding their own place in our own society.
And what can you do to best help them? What solutions have you come up with?
Well, a lot of common approaches. So no target group policies anymore, only general policies. Because if you just look behind the problems that's causing why they're not, well, take the example of having skills, a lack of skills. Then you see that you actually need approaches you also need for Dutch original problems. They are more like the same. And it has to do with persistence in getting them in trainings, getting them at workplaces, and making sure that they're getting active in any way.
Now, we mentioned that Rotterdam is a very intercultural city. You've got a big port, one of the biggest in the world. You've got other aspects to your city. You've got the big marathon coming up. You've got the jazz festival. You've got all sorts of elements that make up this big city. What do you think going forward will make it even more intercultural?
Well, I think one of the things we are doing now for many years actually is taking up on small initiatives coming from people themselves.
Which initiatives particularly?
Well, just to make one a particular example. We have a program, it's called Opzomeren. And any citizen in Rotterdam who takes the initiative to organize anything, any activity with people they don't know yet, well, they can just get a very, very small amount of money for this kind of activity.
How does that work in practice?
It's like a microfinance for really activities on street level.
So the actual scheme itself, how does that work?
Yes, they do it totally themselves. So we have this form, they fill in the form. What would they like to do, with whom, why don't they know them, and what kind of activity they'd like to perform, and then they fill it in, and then they can get just 50 euros or 100 euros, for instance, for a barbecue, organizing a barbecue in their own street, and they can get some groceries. So it's quite practical actually, and it's helped for quite many years actually. We have now already 2,000 streets are involved in this program. And then they're now leveling it. Now they are leveling it a little bit higher because now it's really transformed into streets together. So meeting streets and more to the level of the neighborhood. So it's good to see that coming from grassroots level, really small initiatives can grow in really bonding between groups.
Taking it to another level, then, in the context of the global economy and the crisis that is throughout Europe at the moment. Social cohesion in our communities, how do you see the specific role of local authorities in creating more inclusive societies?
By setting an example and by keeping investing in social cohesion. And just to give another specific example, we just finished the elections for the city initiative. And it was quite a big program. Everybody could fill in a plan to come with an initiative that could actually rise to 600,000 people living in Rotterdam. So it should have been big plans, big schemes. And we had 93 plans with a budget, and they had to co-finance themselves for 50%. And every person living in Rotterdam from 12 years and older could vote. So also involving youngsters in this scheme, and 4 million euro was involved. So it was quite a big amount of money, aiming for this whole city of Rotterdam. And they've chosen a bridge, and a huge wooden bridge that link the center, the inner city of Rotterdam, with the northern part. And I think that's a wonderful example that you have to trust your own people. They know what's best and they know what to do to really make sure that we are more cohesive than ever.
Great to hear those schemes, and thank you for explaining it all to us. Thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.
That's Korrie LOUWES, the Vice Mayor of Rotterdam. Thanks for watching. Join us again soon.